Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to library. Today we're going to read a book called Buffalo Bird Girl, and it's about a Hidatsa woman who retells her childhood stories to a man named Gilbert Wilson. In this book, Buffalo Bird Girl, also known as Wahine, she was among the very last of the Hidatsa to live in the old ways of her people. And with her hair turning gray, she grew concerned that the customs of her tribe, the Hidatsa, were vanishing and would be forgotten. So in 1906, she was introduced to a man, Gilbert Wilson, and she told the story of her life to him. And he wrote two books telling these very beautiful details of Wahine and her childhood. So this is a children's version of that book that I'm going to share with you today. I hope you enjoy it in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day. I am going to make myself disappear so that you can see the images more clearly. I'm going to back us up a little bit here. Okay, Buffalo Bird Girl, a Hidatsa story by S.D. Nelson. My name is Buffalo Bird Woman, Wahine, and my people are known as the Hidatsa. When I was young, they called me Buffalo Bird Girl, after the little brown bird that lives on the prairies of the Great Plains. This name has brought me fortune, for buffalo have a strong heart, and the birds of the air have a good spirit. In my life, I have seen beautiful things, and I have lived through hard times. When I was 6 years old, a terrible sickness called smallpox set upon my people with a fury. The cruel disease first appeared on the Great Plains many years before my birth. It arrived with the coming of the white men. They did not bring the sickness on purpose, but Indians could not fight off this disease. They had no immunity to the dreaded evil spirit. And I'm going to just read to you this quote here that you see at the top. All of the quotes in this book are directly from the mouth of Buffalo Bird Girl. And this one said, I was born in an earth lodge by the mouth of the Knife River in what is now North Dakota, 3 years after the smallpox winter. Smallpox passed some by, but sadly, it took the lives of many Hidatsa people, including my mother, my brother, and one of my aunts. My grandmother and 2 aunts survived. They raised me with the same love and kindness as my real mother. And this image is not of Buffalo Bird Girl. We don't have any actual photographs of her or her family, but this is a Hidatsa mother and child photographed around 1908. So they would have lived at the same time as Buffalo Bird Girl. She would have been carried by her mother and aunts in a similar way. So you can see how this woman is carrying her child. We lived in a village of earth, mound lodges, on the high bluffs of the Missouri River. We called it Like a Fish Hook Village, for it was built upon a sharp bend. One side of our settlement was protected by the mighty river. The other side faced the vast open prairie and was fenced off with stout posts, a stockade for protection from enemy tribes. The aggressive Lakota Indians in particular were constantly trying to steal our horses, our supplies of corn, and other belongings. Our village was the home of 2 different Indian tribes, the Hidatsa and the Mandan. We had formed an alliance in order to increase our strength in numbers so we would be less vulnerable to attack. Like a Fishhook village was the center of much activity, with people constantly coming and going. My family's earth mound lodge was large, measuring more than 40 feet in diameter. It needed to be, for it was home to my father, grandmother, brothers and sisters, cousins, and uncles and aunts, 12 people in all. Inside, 4 enormous cottonwood posts stood like trees. They supported timber crossbeams that carried the great weight of packed earth. There was a fire pit in the center with a smoke hole in the roof above. In the shadows beyond the 4 posts were more columns. They held the log rafters and the leaning walls. Various household items and baskets of dried corn and squash hung from poles set across the rafters. Bed frames ringed the interior. Each served as a bed as well as a place to sit. The bedposts were draped with old teepee coverings for privacy. This canopy also kept out drafts. At night, everyone slept on buffalo robes. These images are a reconstruction of an earth mound lodge at Honestland Indian Village in North Dakota. And outside the lodge of that first picture was a drying stage. You can see the massive tree posts holding up the timber crossbeams, and they in turn carry the great weight of the earth that covers the lodge. The smoke hole in the roof allows light to enter and hearth smoke to escape, which is what you're looking at here. For 3 seasons of the year, this is where we lived, and I considered it my permanent home. Here, I learned many of the duties expected of a Hidatsa woman. Work began early every day. I remember awaking to the comforting sound of crackling morning fire. My grandmother and aunts would already be awake, preparing breakfast. I learned by watching and then by doing. A favorite breakfast for us children was hot corn porridge. To make it, grandmother would pound hard kernels of corn into a fine meal in a wooden mortar. I'm going to back up a little bit here and pause here on this image. She boiled dried squash and beans in a clay pot filled with river water. Then she added the cornmeal mixed with roasted buffalo fat to the pot of vegetables. It tasted delicious. We women and girls always ate in a separate area from the men and boys. The image you're looking at here says, just like Buffalo Girl's grandmother, a woman uses a bone hoe made from a buffalo shoulder blade to turn up soil and weeds in a row of squash. In the spring, when green buds appeared on the gooseberry bushes, we knew the time for planting had arrived. Families from each earth lodge had their own garden. The women and girls did the farming. We planted corn, squash, beans, and sunflowers in the rich soil of the lowlands nearby. There were several varieties of corn, yellow, white, and red. We used digging sticks and iron hoes to loosen the earth and get rid of weeds. My grandmother used a hoe made of bone from a buffalo shoulder blade attached to a stick. We thought that the corn plants had souls, as children have souls. From spring to harvest, my younger sister and I would sit atop a platform, keeping careful watch over our cornfields. Hungry crows, gophers, and horses were a constant threat. They needed to be chased away. Prowling boys from the village liked to sneak among the rows of corn, too, and steal cobs. We would yell their names when we saw them and threaten to tell their mothers. Corn plants have a spirit, as do all living things, even clouds, stars, and the rocks. Of the earth are a part of one great spirit. We girls who kept watch often sang songs to the corn. We sang in the same way a mother sings to her young child. We believed the corn plants enjoyed listening to our songs. The men did the hunting. They sought buffalo, antelope, deer, and other large animals. The boys hunted small animals such as rabbits and birds, such as grouse and ducks. Removing the hides or skinning was a task we all shared. The women would prepare and cook the fresh meat for everyone to enjoy. They would slice up the remaining meat and dry it on racks outdoors. Rising smoke from a fire helped cure and preserve the meat so it would last a long time. The women also scraped and tanned the animal hides. And they used the prepared skins to make clothing and teepees. Like other tribes on the prairies, we needed teepees whenever we traveled. The women even made the bull boats used for river travel out of bent willow saplings and rawhide. All of these things I learned by watching and then doing. And so this is the end of our story. I hope you learned a little bit about life as a prairie native. And I think it's beautiful that this book is written from the words of a woman who experienced life on the prairies before many of these tribes were put onto reservations. And one of my favorite quotes that I'm going to share to end our story today is that Buffalo Bird Girl said that we thought that the corn plants had souls as children have souls, which is a beautiful belief of the native tribes of the plains. I hope you enjoyed the story. And there is more to this book. I did not finish it, so if you ever want to check it out from the library, you're welcome to when we return to school. All right, miss you. Take care. Bye-bye.